For the first time in over 50 years, NASA is gearing up to send astronauts back to the moon. The mission is Artemis II. It's going to loop 4 people around the far side of the moon and bring them home. It sounds incredible, a huge step forward, but beneath all that celebration, a really serious question has come up about the most dangerous part of the whole trip.
See, after the uncrewed test flight, Artemis I, engineers found something worrying on the Orion capsule's heat shield. And this discovery, it casts a pretty big shadow over the most critical phase of the mission, coming home. It really makes you question the very technology that's supposed to keep these astronauts alive.
Okay, so let's get into it. Our story really starts with the single most important piece of safety gear for re-entry, and that's the heat shield. And after its first big, real-world test, it didn't behave quite like anyone expected.
So picture this. They recover the Orion capsule from the Pacific Ocean, and the inspectors get to work. They find that this special material, Avcoat, it's designed to literally burn away and carry heat with it, had eroded in a really uneven way. It was charred way deeper than their models predicted, it had these cracks they didn't expect to see, and in some places, entire chunks of it had just vanished, gone.
Now let's be super clear here. The heat shield didn't fail. It got the capsule home in one piece. But that's not really the point. The real issue, the thing that has engineers losing sleep, is that it didn't perform the way their incredibly detailed computer models said it would. And in spaceflight, that gap between what you predict and what actually happens, that's exactly where the danger lives.
So, why is this gap such a huge deal? Well, because returning from the moon is nothing, and I mean nothing, like returning from the International Space Station. It's a whole different kind of violent.
Just look at the raw speed. A capsule coming home from low Earth orbit, like from the ISS, hits our atmosphere at about 28,000 kilometers per hour. Fast, right? But coming back from the moon, you're slamming into the atmosphere at almost 40,000 kilometers per hour. That's a massive, massive difference in speed.
And this is where physics just gets brutal. The heat you generate during re-entry doesn't just go up a little with more speed, it goes up exponentially. That extra velocity from a lunar mission creates a thermal load that's just orders of magnitude higher. It pushes that heat shield to its absolute breaking point.
So to handle all that insane energy, Orion does this wild maneuver called the skip re-entry. Seriously, think of it like skipping a stone across a lake. The capsule dips into the atmosphere, uses its own shape to create lift, and literally bounce back out into space for a minute before it plunges back in for the final landing. It's an incredibly complex dance, which means you absolutely need that heat shield to perform exactly as you predict.
So here's the bottom line. The danger isn't a known quantity. It's what they call an unquantified risk. If that heat shield material chips off in a way the engineers can't predict, it could create a hotspot. And that hotspot could let superheated plasma burn right through the capsule structure. It's not a risk they can calculate and plan for, it's a giant unknown at the most dangerous moment of the entire mission.
Now, a situation like this, a known technical problem mixed with this huge pressure to fly, well, it doesn't just exist in a vacuum. For NASA, this has to feel chillingly familiar. It carries the heavy, heavy weight of history. When you look back at NASA's darkest days, a pattern just jumps out at you. Before the Apollo 1 fire, people had serious concerns about the capsule. Before Challenger, engineers were screaming not to launch in the cold. And with Columbia, everyone knew foam could strike the heat shield, but the risk was just normalized. In every single case, the technical warnings were there. Now, it's really tempting to compare Artemis II to Apollo 8. That was the first time humans ever orbited the moon. Both are pioneering flights, no doubt, but if you look closer, you see a really crucial difference in the kind of risk they took on. The Apollo 8 crew bravely accepted the unknown unknowns of going where no one had gone before. Artemis II, on the other hand, is facing a known unquantified risk, this very specific, unpredictable problem with its heat shield, on a machine that's way more complex and software-dependent. Okay, so if there's a known issue with the most critical piece of safety gear, why on earth is this mission still pushing forward? Well, the answer lies in this powerful cocktail of forces, all pushing Artemis II toward that launch pad. First up, you've got geopolitics. Let's be real, this is a new moon race. The US is in a strategic competition with China, which has its own incredibly ambitious plans for the moon. In that kind of environment, a major delay to America's flagship program, it looks like a huge setback. Then, of course, there's money and politics. The Artemis program has already cost tens of billions of dollars. Any big delay could make Congress, the people who control the funding, really nervous. To keep the money flowing for future missions, NASA has to show tangible progress, right now.
And finally, you just have simple inertia. The Artemis program isn't just NASA, it's this massive industrial ecosystem. We're talking thousands of contractors, suppliers, jobs all across the country. A long pause doesn't just delay one mission, it threatens to freeze that entire economic engine.
So when you mix that technical uncertainty about the heat shield with all these immense external pressures, the Artemis II mission suddenly becomes a lot more than just an engineering challenge. It becomes a test of NASA's very culture.
And you have to remember, the stakes here are absolute. If something goes wrong on the way to the moon, or God forbid during re-entry, there is no rescue plan. There's no lifeboat. There's no ISS to dock with for safety. That crew is completely on their own, hundreds of thousands of kilometers from anyone who can help. And that right there brings us to the heart of NASA's most tragic lessons. Because the common thread, the pattern in its worst disasters, isn't some random, unforeseeable accident. It's that the technical warnings were there, but the management decisions, under all that pressure, were still made to fly. And so, that leaves us with this one final, really uncomfortable question. Artemis II is this bold, inspiring mission. It's everything we love about space exploration. But with this known issue on its heat shield, you just have to ask, is NASA's decision to press on a sign of ultimate confidence in its engineers, or is it a reflection of the same cultural pressures that have led to tragedy before?